Hello, good afternoon. This is Dr. Hugo Gonzales, clinical psychologist. I am working with COP Center and Therapy International, and this is our YouTube program, Insight. Thank you for having your time with us, Elisabeth. She's a very important member of COP Center. We are going to have this opportunity to talk a little bit more about the role and the work that you are doing as an art therapist with COP Center. So maybe for the benefit of people, of our audience, if you would like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your work.
So I'm Elisabeth, and I'm working with COPE for the past 1.5 years. I'm an arts therapist, come with an artistic background, and work with psychoanalytic psychotherapy as the basis of arts therapy. And I think the difference to other therapies is mostly that we have the image as an extra in the room that we're working with. So it is not only the therapist and the client, but also in the making process of using creative modalities, we have an image that helps us to bring things to the surface and to look at behaviors around how the image is created, what kind of symbolic is the image holding for the client, but also for me as the therapist, of having more the analytic perspective on it.
Yeah. I think that you pointed out something that is very, very, very important, is that in therapy, there are different modalities so that you are going to work with your clients, no? And together with a very strong therapeutic alliance, it's very important also to think about how the different expressions of the person are going to be revealed through therapy. I guess that your psychoanalytical psychotherapy background tells us a lot about the working of the unconscious and the conscious elements in the experience of the people. I can see that you have many tools here. Tell me a little bit about what are the tools of your work.
Usually arts therapy uses a big array of different media and modalities, such as dance, movement, drama, visual arts. So I brought the fabrics that we use more for the dramatic expression, but also in movement, in bringing clients to move around the space, to use them, taking them into their hands. They have different qualities. So there is the sensory experience that also often brings a memory up. So clients say, oh, this reminds me of my childhood. I used to play in my grandma's house and we had this and this hanging there. So it gives us always a starting point for building a relationship back into childhood experiences, but also using it as a playful way of engaging with the unconscious.
That's exactly.
Because arts therapy is using a lot of playfulness so that people start to relax a bit more. Sometimes visual art making is taking them too much into the space of I have to make an image that looks like something. So with the fabrics, it's more of using the weight of the material, just adding something to create an image. And then once the image is done, we can explore. So, and again, this is also making us use movement. We use the whole body. So it is the quality of the arts therapies as an embodied approach.
That's right.
And when clients start to lay out fabrics, it's really more about letting go of all the thoughts that they bring into the session, of the worries, and being playful.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's the starting point.
Yeah. 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 I was just wondering if you can maybe give us a little bit of a taste of what are the issues that you are going to explore with art therapy, using the different tools that we are talking about here.
Yeah. So a main quality of arts therapy is that we can use non-verbal expression. So people who are really traumatized sometimes have difficulties to put things into words.
Yeah.
So in expressing with different modalities and media, they can have this self-expression without the words as a starting point.
Yeah.
And then we can reflect. So mostly a session starts with having a bit of an checking in time of seeing where the client is at. And then they move into an expressive exploration for around 20 minutes, usually.
Okay.
So that's the framework. And then they have time to step out of the making process and start the reflecting. And in the reflection, ideally we come to an insight that clients can take into a linkage to daily experiences they have, and find something meaningful in what the image was giving them back as an answer to something, or sometimes can things emerge through the making process that they would otherwise not have found in that easy way. But obviously this is not always happening in this direct line. Sometimes it takes a lot of sessions for the client to really see something in the image that they can take further.
That's
and
right.
that leads them to insight.
That's exactly right. No, for example, in talk therapy, for example, it may take sometimes several weeks, like sometimes years, no, in order for the person to bring some of the elements of the unconscious and somehow feel the sense of being safe and feeling that he may develop a good therapeutic alliance and relationship with the therapist, and also being safe and being able to trust, no? Which is something that is going to, in some cases, as you described, for example, the cases of people who have been severely traumatized, they are going to tend to dissociate themselves from their experience, no? And sometimes it's going to be very, very difficult, but you have added a very important element to the process of working with people, which is the perceptual and all these senses that the person is going to explore, and sometimes without talking, or sometimes with expressive art elements, you are going to bring all those different elements. For example, what do we have here? For example, let's put it in.
So, if we go into a basic understanding of using those fabrics and the different colors, we could say this is an exploration of my feelings at the moment. So there is all these different feelings that are held inside and that are externalized by putting them out there. There might be a cultural connection. Usually this fabric people use for making a connection or a link to their cultural origin. So in my case, this would be my Austrian roots. And then having all these other elements. And I think one really important thing is that we have moved away from the traditional form of art therapy where particular colors had a particular meaning.
Yes.
So today we are really going with the client on the day. Sometimes red means something energizing. On a different day it might relate to a wound.
That's right.
So very careful taking back our own analytical aspects in the exploration of the client and leading from the side by asking questions, being sensible around how they use materials, more also observing their behavior in how they lay out something, how do they use the body, do they use the whole body, do they change materials, things like this.
I think that's the point. I think that we are talking about the experiencing of the individual, no generalizing.
Yes.
From in arts therapy. You are going to see the individual for what it is and the experiences and how he is going to have an insight regarding his own individual experiences. And I think that's the whole point. The individual is the whole, and that's the holistic way to working with individuals.
Also, sometimes there is some clients who would not use the fabrics simply because they are at the moment quite overwhelmed. So their senses are quite intense. When they just touch something, it goes like, no, I don't want to touch those fabrics. But this can also be helpful in a later stage of therapy to say, okay, even if you don't like to touch that, this might represent for you something in the image that is something uncomfortable. Exactly so they still can use it, even if they don't want to touch it. Other people would not even like to work with the fabrics, and then we do something on the table and do smaller things, doing visual exploration with painting or drawing. So
I got something. I got something else there.
Yeah, so that's also something that is done for a long time back to Jung, around using visual explorations. And these days, a lot of people use second-hand books for adopting the book and making it their own. Wonderful. So, and then this is just an exploration that I did over years in working with clients.
Okay.
And it is a good example for some of my clients who want to start working on a book. It's like deconstructing the existing book and using it to put their own story inside.
Wonderful.
So it's getting this metaphorical object where it holds their trauma or it holds the whole story that they want to get out of the system and externalize into an object.
And it's talking about the chapters of your book, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Elisabeth, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk with you. What days are you working on at COP Center? What days do you work at COP Center?
At the moment, I'm working weekly on Wednesdays and fortnightly on Mondays.
Okay. Thank you very much. And this is the interview with Elisabeth. Thank you very much.